Sampadia, Timothy, non cotu, era one radio. Samupe, Jumpadia, Timothy, non cotu, era one radio. Oh, and you pumpuma, Asam pumpuma. Era one,
Kosua na ti era one radio empenyini say yensoma na motenten yesoma banyasafo era one radio yede nsem anomuaye ebrem.
Hello, good evening, Era One Radio listeners and viewers all over the world. It's another Thursday, the 29th day of August, 2024. We are back in the studio as usual. I'm here with Reverend Robert Akron, also known as Nee Saban, the IT guru, the legal, our personal attorney, the legal wizard, the historian, the literature poet, whatever you want to call him. Yeah, tonight I don't have Uncle Max here, so if he bullies me, it's going to be just he and I. So I'm sure he's going to be nice to me today, so I don't have any qualms about that. Anyway,
nice.
Yeah, you've been. All right, Nisaba, you are welcome. What's going on?
Nothing much. We are counting the days, both here in Ghana.
What days are you talking about?
The elections.
Elections. I know you can't wait.
Yeah.
You cannot wait.
I can't wait to celebrate Kamala Harris's victory and Dr. Baumia's victory.
Wow, so that should be the pair, huh? It can't go any other way?
No, it won't go any other way.
All right. I know sometimes you've been a prophet of doom, so I'll just leave it at that. The prophet of doom, so we'll just leave it that way.
Okay.
Anyway, we are back, and as I said, Uncle Max is tied up, so he can't be with us tonight. Hey, who knows? He can still make it. So whatever happens, we are well able. All right. For some time now, for some weeks now, we've been looking at the prescription for success, and we did say earlier on that success and prosperity, some might interchange the meaning. I mean, synonymously or whatever it is, but they all have their different parts, and it depends on how you look at it. So we call it the subjective terms or description for those. You define them the way you want to, but we looked at it from the book of Joshua chapter 1 verse 8. That is where we pick our theme from. And so tonight is going to be just a summary. We're going to end our campaign here today. As the politicians say, we are ending our campaign, but we are not ending the study. We'll come back and revisit, but we just want to finish where we've come to, and then we'll pick up another topic next week. So tonight is going to be a bit of a summary, sort of, for those who are just joining us. If this is your first time of joining us in this study, you missed a lot. I will entreat you to go back to Facebook or YouTube and then get a copy of the clip. They are all there on Era One Studios. If you go to Facebook, it's Era One TV station, and after that's YouTube, and then you can also go to Facebook, Era One Radio. You can get all the clips there, and please watch from the series. I think we did about today will be part 5, so we've done 5 series that you can go and especially for those of you in theology or Bible schools. It will really help you, because I'm sure your teachers are not teaching you this. All right, we've gone through a series of questions on this topic. We looked at one, what book was Joshua referring to? And we looked at the meaning of shall not depart out of your mouth. We also looked at what it meant to, or it means to meditate, and what is the test prescription for success, and how many ideas that we can glean from this text. What we couldn't do, or we haven't done, is what tools can you use to tease out the implicit information in the text? I'll let Nisa Bang go over that. I'm sure you must have mentioned it in some previous, but then tonight, as part of our recap, I want him to go over that, and then we'll go through a few inferencing information that I have on the slides, and then we'll pick it from there. So what tools can we use to tease out the implicit information in this text?
Thank you, Dr. Boyson. In actual fact, one tool that helps a lot in teasing out inferences that call it implicit inferences from an explicit statement. In order to make the implicit inferences explicit, you develop the skill to look at the multiple sentences in a single sentence, right? And then once you are able to make sure whatever you extract out of the explicit sentences actually can be derived. You don't go outside. You don't derive a sentence that we cannot deduce from, call it your knowledge base. Right? So if we take the text, Joshua chapter 1, verse 8, to constitute our knowledge base, right? You cannot go outside that text. Everything and every sentence or every proposition you deduce or extract out of it must actually come out of it, right? It should be possible to derive such statements from your knowledge base simply because those statements are implicit within the explicit statements made. In probability theory, we call it the law of cardinality, right? So when you've been able to carve out the implicit statements, or call it the atomic statements, atomic propositions in one giant proposition, you then count the number of atomic propositions and raise it to the power, right? So, for example, in our text, we have 5 propositions that we could immediately glean from Joshua chapter 1, verse 1. And
Verse 8.
I can quickly, verse 8, sorry. Quickly, they are, the book of the law must not depart out of your mouth. That's an atomic sentence because it can be true, it can be false. And then you have, you must meditate on the book of the law always. It can be true, it can be false. You must act according to all the content of the book of the law. Can be true, can be false. You shall make your way prosperous. Can be true, can be false. You shall have good success. Can be true, can be false. But these are direct, these are explicit extracts from just one verse. And so if you look at it, because there we can identify only, or we can extract just about 5 from it, you have 2 raised to the power 5, which is 32,
Okay.
right? That means at most you can glean 32 possible ideas because of the manipulation of the propositions, right? And that will give you the information you are looking for, right? And that will form your knowledge base. So back to your question, the tool one needs to cultivate, the skill one needs to acquire is the ability to derive multiple sentences out of a single sentence or a single narrative or text.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So what we're going to do is, there were a lot of nuggets in this very verse, the 1 verse 8. A lot of meat, like you rightly said. And tonight, I want us to, in recapping our study, I want us to go through the various inferences. And as the lecturer that you are, you actually lead the lecture, the description, and then we'll just sit behind you and watch you lecture, and then I'll come in with any questions that we have. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's how we want to do our summary. So we're going to look at the inference, the conclusion that exists in this very verse. So you use the letter L to represent the book of the law exists.
Yeah.
The book of the law. All right, go ahead.
The way to look at it, if the Bible says, this book of the law shall not depart out of your mouth, is it is it true that we can extract a statement like the book of the law exists out of it?
Definitely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, we can. So that becomes an explicit statement. The book of the law exists, right? And then you have the second part. The book of the law must not or shall not depart out of thy mouth, which is another way of saying, or an idiomatic way of saying, you shall discuss it always, right? Because you use your mouth for discussion, right?
So is that optional or is that's mandatory?
No, because it says the book of the law shall not.
Shall not. So that's a command, huh?
That's mandatory, right? You have no choice in the matter. You must, right? And so when you have, as I said, just one statement, one proposition, call it, in the book of the law must not depart out of your mouth. But if you look at it carefully, it is made up of at least two sentences. The book of the law exists, and you have a mouth to discuss things, right? And if one wants to go that way, it means one of the properties of the book of the law is that it can depart out of your mouth, which means if you don't take care, you will stop discussing it, right? So the injunction is that you must not stop discussing it. You must constantly. So I said the book of the law exists, and then the book of the law can be discussed, right? If it can be discussed, then you have the ability to do the discussion. So just that one statement alone, the book of the law shall not depart out of your mouth, right? Dr. Boyson, we've dealt with the you there. Who is it referencing, right?
Yes.
And we understand that despite the fact that this was a dialogue between God and Joshua, right? This book of the law was not meant for Joshua alone, or the prescription in it were not meant for Joshua alone, right? We can extend it to represent the people of Israel, right? Because that was the group Joshua was leading, and God was giving him the instructions for the group to follow. We can also say that this book is for mankind, right? Which will say Joshua, which will mean Joshua actually is representative of mankind, right?
Okay.
And so if that becomes true, if we accept that as true, the scope of that word, right, goes beyond just one person. It means everybody. And Dr. Boyson, that takes us to an interesting subject area that maybe down the line we will introduce, right? One of the things one will get to understand is that when you are dealing with groups and individuals, right, one of the things you confront is whether an issue affects everybody or it affects one person or at least one person. So either everybody is affected or at least one person is affected. Are you getting me?
Yes, sir.
And so when you are reading and you see words like every and some, these are words that should cause you to pause.
Okay, every and some, which is not, it's
Because,
not total.
yes, the topic or the subject area that deals with it is what we call quantification, right? So it's a statement meant to affect a group, every member of the group, every member of humanity, or just some members, or just one person, right? So again, if we look at the you and the yours and what have you used here, we have to determine what the scope of those words is, right? And as Christians, since this text applies to everybody, all mankind, right? This has to be interpreted in a way. And so let me give us a sneak peek, right? We want call it. We want to take a little call it projection.
But before you do,
Yeah.
can the Muslims or the Hindus and all those people say that they are exempted?
No, because you see, this is not even meant for you. You look at the book of the law, right? And as I said, if a Muslim thinks it doesn't apply to him, right, then he will belong to the some people who don't see it, right? But the idea is it is for all mankind, right? If some groups of mankind don't see it as applying to them, that's fine. Some see it as applying to them. You getting me? So again, the scope depends on the individual, right? If you are a Muslim or a Hinduist or even a Christian, you think this only applies to the children of Israel or just to Joseph, right?
Joshua.
Joshua, then that's fine. In your case, it doesn't apply to you. So the scope is just Joshua, right? Or the children of Israel. But it still doesn't take away the call it the power of this observation, right? That it applies, the scope in actual fact applies to all mankind.
Yeah, the funny thing is that when you take the Bible, I mean, although it doesn't shove it down the throat of people, but you realize that the principles that have been aligned in the book, if people actually adhere to or practice, you realize that it works. Because take the principle of sowing and reaping.
Yeah.
Whether you're a believer, you're a Christian, you're a Buddhist, whatever, if you apply those principles, it still works. That is why most believers can appreciate the fact that they will call some people unbelievers in quotes and say, this guy is an unbeliever. Why is he prospering? We forget to think about the fact that they are also operating on this principle that God has made it universal. And then we go about quoting scriptures like the wealth of the hidden shall be given to the believers, which to me is a little bit unfair.
Well,
because the principles work either way.
Well, it's unfortunate. But if you look at every religion has a law like thou shalt not steal.
Okay. Of course.
And it's in the book. This is a book of the law, right? So at least if you don't accept everything, a lot of the things there apply to you, because one way or the other you have it as part of your spiritual code, right? The literature that guides Hinduism, the Mahabharata, the Upanishads and Vedas and what have you, the Quran, right? Taoism, everybody says thou shalt not steal, right? So that law alone, which is contained in the book of the law, at least has universal appeal, right? Universal appeal and universal application. That's what we are trying to put across. So again, what is the scope? If you are able to define the scope of those words, you know the extent of its application, at least of that statement, right? So, Dr. Boyson, the point I mean, if you look at the board, we saw that we were able to come up with 5 atomic propositions, right, in the text, right? But because what I call the 5 explicit atomic propositions from Joshua chapter 1, verse 8. But when you take the trouble to do inferencing, this time looking at your knowledge base, which is still the 5 explicit declarative statements in Joshua chapter 1, verse 8, you realize that you can actually expand it. You'll be able to extract at least 12 atomic sentences, which now become explicit. Until you did it, they were implicit. And if you are able to do this now, all of a sudden, the 32 possible ideas, now because 2 raised to the power 5, now you have 2 raised to the power 12. 4,096 possible ideas from 32. Dr. Boyce, are you getting the picture?
Yes, sir.
So it means that if you only know how to deal with statements as they are without the ability to extract implicit statements out of explicit statements, you may think you only have 5, but there are 4,096 possible, which means 4,091 are not on your radar. Are we getting the picture clear? And so you can imagine 2 people with the ability, one with the ability to see 12 out of 5, and therefore is able to come up with 4,096 possible ideas. And the second person can only deal in and can only see 5. You see the sort of world that will open up with somebody with the ability to see 4,091 more than the second person who only sees 5.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what we are dealing with. That's what we are. And so then your one's knowledge base, right, gives you just the skeleton, right? The skeleton. And now it is up to you, the student, to do extra work with what you've been given, right? The text will only give you explicit statements, but hidden in the explicit statements are implicit statements. Is that making sense? So how do you get the valid implicit statements out of the valid explicit statements? That is the skill one needs to cultivate to be able to do this sort of thing. Again, from 32 to 4,096, the inferential power, the ability that you gain, the possible worlds that you can operate in, the possible ideas you can work with just by acquiring the ability to create multiple implicit statements out of explicit statements.
So does the ability equal to doability? Because one may have the ability, but they decide not to do it. So that's a different thing.
No, then that's up to you. You getting me? It's like having $10 in your pocket that can buy you a good McDonald's, and it will quench your hunger, it will quench your thirst and what have you. And you're deciding you rather go hungry with $10 in your pocket. That's your call. That's your choice. Right? You die, we'll bury you. That's it. Right? So doability, I mean, it's one thing not to know. Of course, you can't do what you don't know, right? All things being equal. But if you know, and then you decide not to do it, right? Then don't blame anybody if you are not able to reap a bountiful harvest. That's your call. That's your problem. Right? And as far as I'm concerned, I would rather give the benefit of the doubt to the ignorant who doesn't know it than to the one who knows it and chooses not to do it.
So why then do we have this phrase that ignorance is no excuse?
No, in certain contexts.
Certain context.
I mean, take for example, because in the context of an adult and a 2-year-old child, right? Both may do the same thing, but you give the benefit of the doubt to a kid because he may not know.
Okay.
Are you getting me? But an adult, no. And let me take you for example. If somebody goes into a courtroom with me, right? And there is a published law that a lawyer is supposed to know, right? And then I claim I don't know, and then the other person who is not a lawyer also claims he doesn't know. The standard that will be applied to me will be higher and harsher.
Yeah, because you are supposed to know.
So my ignorance of it is no shield, right? Whereas a judge might decide to be a bit lenient to the person who is not a lawyer. Is that making sense?
That's true.
So, yeah, ignorance, of course, if you've not been exposed to it, then one cannot expect you to work with it. Are you getting me? But if you've been exposed and you choose to feign ignorance and therefore not do what you possibly could do, there is no hiding place for you.
All right. So I think one of the other areas we talked about previously in this discourse was the book of the Lord can be meditated upon. And I think you did describe the meditation. So as a recap, you might want to go over a little bit of the meditation for those who only think that meditation is just a transcendental meditation where you sit and cross your legs and just assume that you're going to fly or something. Just give us a recap of the meditation aspect.
Dr. Boyson, of course, again, words and their meaning and their power, right? And of course, and their context. In Eastern religions, for example, right, the word meditation has a spiritual connotation and maybe denotation, right? It's like, it's not like a mental activity, although you may start from the mental side. That type of meditation in the Eastern spiritual expressions, they tend to be a bit more of the spiritual, right? Which may be like out of body experience or what have you, transcendental meditation or what have you. That's not what we are talking about. The definition of the word meditation as applied in this text is the ability to think deeply, to reflect deeply, right? Look at the subject matter holistically, look at it from as many angles, do a lot of due diligence with the text. That is meditation, right? So the meditation here is more of a mental activity to sharpen your cognitive faculties, right? And so Joshua, this book, God was telling him, not only must you discuss it, but you must meditate. And Dr. Boyson, though the book of the law must not depart out of your mouth has been listed first, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that is the first requirement or that is the first thing that must be done, followed by no. In actual fact, if you look at it, for you to discuss anything, you must have knowledge about it, right? In order not to appear as a charlatan or a madman.
A scammer.
Right? So for anybody to be able to talk about a topic, to talk on a topic or an issue, that person must have the knowledge. And it is the meditation, which is studying deeply, right? Studying the content of the book of the Lord deeply, that equips you with the knowledge. And then with the knowledge, you can now discuss it, right? And then once you discuss it, now you can act on it. And Dr. Boyson, this is what we have to understand out of it. God was literally telling Joshua, knowledge is the key to success, right? Because even your action must be based on the prescriptions of the book of the law. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
And so you don't act in ignorance. Your actions are informed. And they are informed by the content of a book. Right? And you get that information by meditating on the content of the book. And you deepen your understanding by discussing it. So, Dr. Boyson, the book not departing out of your mouth here is like what you and I are doing, right? I may have read about this, but if I don't engage in this sort of discussion, right, and you literally putting me on the spot, right, literally forcing me to be a bit more expressive and articulate about some of the points, right, I may go with my whatever I had read about without actually seeing as many angles as I would now see, because you have another mind to query you about the extent, right? So that's what the book not departing out of your mouth, which simply means keep discussing it, keep discussing, keep articulating the book of the law, the content of the book of the law. And you can always only do it if you meditate. That is the bottom of the line.
So if I may chip in, what I would say, one put in here is that the meditation more so deals with you yourself. Yourself. And then the discussion is where you engage somebody. So you meditate inwardly, personally, you equip yourself, and then you come out and share, question people, let people interrogate you. Because it's just like an examination. If you study and you study, and your teacher doesn't query you, he wouldn't be able to quantify or measure how much you have absorbed for his teaching. Then it's like just coming to the class and just opening his mouth and yelling out, and then you guys not retaining anything, or there is no measure of how much you've absorbed with all the 3 months of his teaching you or whatever it is. So you meditate privately in your privacy, and then you come out and discuss it.
Yes.
Otherwise, the meditation by yourself, although it will amount to something for you, it doesn't spread a message. You are not engaging other people. You are not blessing other people. You have to include other people in what you have meditated upon.
Yeah. You become an agent of information, right? So literally, God was saying, Joshua, you have to be a teacher. And for you to be a teacher, you first have to be a student.
That's true.
Right? So become a student of the book and a teacher of the book. And not only a student and a teacher, now you act according to the prescriptions. Right? And it is only when you act according to all the prescriptions that you will make your way prosperous. Dr. Boyce, I think this point needs to be emphasized and stressed upon as many times as possible. Joshua is making us to understand that we are responsible, at least according to this text, Joshua chapter 1, verse 8. You, the individual, are responsible for your prosperity.
That's why some people say, I'm the captain of my own ship.
Yes. And Joshua is saying, God is faithful. Yeah. You are responsible for your prosperity, but He is giving you the tool. The tool is use your mind to know the laws that guide or regulate prosperity, which is contained in the book of the law. And you get to understand it, and then you get to discuss it, and then you get to act according. So you understand. You not only are a teacher, you are not only a student, but you are an actor. Right? You act. Your actions are informed and guided by the content, the prescriptions of the book of the law.
No wonder when I joined the Navy, one of the things that they taught us or I learned was they say see one, do one, and teach one.
Yes, sir.
They will demonstrate to you as a demo, you look at it, and then you do to see that you can do it, and then you go and teach other people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, I think you've been talking a while. Let me take a little break for you. Let me go do this 30-second commercial, and then we'll come out with more fire. Stay tight, don't move.
Hello, beautiful people of Ghana. This is Banahine Specialist Hospital. We are so excited to announce to our people Ghana that we are finally opened and we are accepting patients. At Banahine Specialist Hospital, our extraordinary physicians and nurses are here to provide a high-quality medical service to our extraordinary patients. Our services include primary care services, maternal, neonatal, and pediatric services. We also have an in-house pharmacy. We have x-ray and laboratory services available to you. Come to us for all your healthcare needs and you will be happy you did because we believe the health is wealth. Thank you and stay blessed.
All right, you welcome back to Era One Radio. We are still broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, and also Modern Ghana Radio. The number to call in is 240-280-2633, or if you want to text, it's 510-9310946. Broadcasting on Facebook and YouTube. Tonight we are coming to a close on our topic, prescription for success, and Pastor Akron has graciously and extensively spent a lot of time to eat this scripture. This whole book, actually, he's eating the whole book, and now he's offered graciously to lead us to understand the very depths of this scripture. And he doesn't mince words by saying that God is good, God is faithful, but he also gives us the choice, the ability to choose. Otherwise, God would have made us robots. He gave us a choice. Say, I have laid before you, these are the prescriptions I'm giving you. If you want to make your way prosperous or successful, you have to apply these principles because our God knows the beginning from the end. He knows what is going to happen tomorrow or yesterday. And he says that this is the prescription I'm giving you. And so when Joshua took over the reins from Moses, God knew the guy was going to be a freed man. He would be scared because he knew that if Moses of all people couldn't take the people of Israel across the Jordan, how less of him to do the same thing. So he was scared. I'm sure God foresaw the nature of Joshua and said, Joshua, be courageous, do not be scared, I am with you, and all that. And in 8, he's giving out a prescription to Joshua. And as Pastor Akron said, God initially started by talking to Joshua in that little corner. He said, Joe, this is what I want you to know. And not just you, to spread it out to the people who you are leading or going. He said, these are the things I play before you. If you want to be successful, if you want to be prosperous, these are the laid down principles. If you follow them, I assure you, they are going to come to pass. So that is what Pastor Akron has studied graciously and is giving us. One of the things we also want to look is that the book of the law has written prescriptions. They are commandments that God gives us, or Joshua was talking about, that if you meditate on the law and you don't let it depart from you, you stay in your little corner, you reflect on it, you go out and discuss with your family, your friends, your community, your nation, and you are following these principles, then these things will follow you. All right, Pastor Kron, let us go to the choice. You have the choice to follow. Either you take it or you don't take it. It's up to you. If you want to prosper, then it's up to you. I think you did say before the break that you are the one who will make your way prosper, because by obeying the principles, you are making life easier. Comment on that, please.
Yeah, Dr. Boyson, thank you for the simple fact of the matter is, if you look at the text, right, all you see, I mean, let me read it. It says, this book of the law shall not depart out of your mouth, right? So it means you don't have a choice in that matter, right? It shall, because it is
mandatory. Okay.
A mandatory, right? It's a command. Okay. Now, it doesn't stop there. It says, but thou shalt meditate. Another obligation. Thou shalt meditate. Authoritative language. And then this time, when it comes to acting, he said, thou may. Permissive. Right? Which means there you have discretion in the matter. Right? Whereas you have no discretion in educating yourself about the ways of God contained in the book of the law, right? You don't have any discretion in whether to talk about it, articulate it or not. When it comes to acting according to the prescriptions of the law, that is permitted.
Prerogative.
It is on you. You can exercise discretion there. Are you understanding? But it makes us to understand that once you decide to do it and you've met the first two requirements and you add the action part, then you will make your way prosperous. So, Dr. Boyce, if you look on your screen, one of the extracts, right, is that you have your way. Look at it. The W stands for you have your way. Because it said, you shall make your way prosperous. You have a way, and you therefore have the chance now to make your way prosperous. Right? And so you realize that the next thing I said, your prosperity is in your hands.
So does it mean there's no God factor in this?
No, God is there. He is giving you what you need to do. He said, educate yourself about everything God has put in his word, called the book of the law. Talk about it so that your understanding is deepened. Then act according to what is contained in the book of the law. That is when, because your way, let's look at the word way. It's like a journey, right? The path you are treading. So life is like you are moving from point A to point Z. But between point A to point Z, there are detours, right? There are twists and turns. But if you have the master pilot himself, who has prepared the guide for you, right? At any point, at any twist or anything, consult the manual, consult the book of the law. You won't go wrong because God is the one who is talking here, and he has all the credibility. He knows the end from the beginning from the end. He knows the way to the destination.
Pastor
Right?
Kwon, let me interject you a little bit with your permission. So let's look at some parts in Africa where most citizenry spend, I would say, 4 or 5 days of the week trying to pray, and still the continent is one of the not so good in the world. How do you link, or how do you help them reason and come out of this situation where they think they are very spiritual, but then economically wise, things are not that feasible? What is wrong?
Dr. Boyce, the book doesn't say pray. The book of the law, it doesn't say pray. It said meditate. Are you getting me? It says meditate. Meditation is an activity of the mind.
Okay.
Right? Praying is an activity of the heart. Right? Activity of the mind have to do with the mind, with the head. So engage the head. That is the requirement. Are you getting me? So if you choose to do something that God has not asked you to do as far as prosperity is concerned, that is your own business. Is that making sense?
Yeah, because it's very disheartening, because I know Africa, there are countries that pray a lot, they spend a lot. And you look at the development and you ask yourself, this thing should have been better. I mean, I know where they tell us that build your mansion in heaven where moth or cockroaches will not eat, and so don't mind too much about earthly things. But here we are on earth too. We go around borrowing stuff from people who are developing their mind to get things done.
Dr. Boyce, this is what the book that guides our faith, this is what it's saying. And you are choosing to do your own thing. That is your business. That's not God's business. God says, discuss, meditate, act. That's the formula for prosperity. Are you getting me? And we've made it clear that meditate here is a mental activity. Right? You study to show yourself approved. So this is what God is saying. Study deeply, not surface, right? Study deeply. That's what the word meditate. Reflect on all the nuances, right? Look at all the angles. That is deep reflection. That is meditation. And as I said, then you can teach. You acquire knowledge, and then you can pass it on, because you can't pass on what you don't have. So you acquire knowledge, then you can discuss, and then you can act. Your actions will be guided not by emotions, but by prescription. Right? Tested actions, results-oriented actions. And then you will make your way. And so, Dr. Boyce, if God says your prosperity is in your hands, not him, and you choose to go to God praying for prosperity and he doesn't answer you, Africa is the case. is a case study for being zealous without being knowledgeable. Are you getting the picture?
Yeah, let me ask a very digressive question a little bit. Maybe I'm going outside our periphery, but one of the new candidates vying or campaigning for presidency, whom we call Cheddar, in one of his pronouncements, I don't know whether he was making a metaphor description or was being direct, but he mentioned along strains of policy that he was giving out. Maybe he just might have mentioned it just literal. Maybe he didn't mean the practicality of it, but he mentioned that the way goods are transported from outside to Ghana through Tema or Takoradi before it gets there, and then they have to transport from there to Kumasi, which takes another more days of traveling. So he was making the analogy that he's thinking about a time where they can dredge areas in Kumasi to bring the sea there, so all this transportation can be viable in those areas. And I still haven't been able to enter his mind to figure out whether he was making a literal pronouncement or just making an analogy. Now, let me ask you, with the mind of somebody, let's say, who's lived in Dubai, a place that used to be desert or something. These guys have been able to develop their country. We hear it's a desert place, there's not much water, but now Dubai has become a haven of place that people live to go and vacation. Is it possible for Ghana to dredge and bring the sea in Kumasi? Is it possible?
I mean, engineering-wise, yes, but cost-wise, prohibitive.
Wouldn't be too
And
much,
so you step back and you ask, are there alternatives? Right? The point is, a developed country like America, is it every state that has the sea
running through?
No, you getting me? So can America do it? Yes, they can, but what of the cost involved?
Okay.
Right? So yes, it is easy for people to say, okay, oh yeah, it's a good idea, but is it cost effective? How long would it take you to do it, and how much would it cost you to do it?
That's a
right?
response.
And so when you do the cost benefit analysis, right, it doesn't scale. So do we have alternatives? We have road transportation, right? It is easy to construct roads, right? So if we have only the Accra-Kumasi road as the link between Accra and Kumasi, even if we don't have additional land, can we create overheads, right? So you have another another road constructed on top of the existing road.
Yeah, just like we
right?
have here.
So you have 3, 4 multiple. Those are alternatives
to ease traffic.
We already have rail lines. Can we increase? So these are alternatives that are already there. You're getting me? And so yes, that's a good idea, but cost-wise, it doesn't scale. That's the bottom line for me, right? So the fact that something is doable doesn't mean it must be done.
Feasible, okay. Yeah, because I hear there are some countries in the world that are able to shoot rays into the skies to project back and form rain, instead of others also waiting for the climatic conditions to change for rain to come. People are creating artificial rains. Yeah,
it is true, but you ask yourself, what are the effects? Right? Again, as I said, one of the things we have, anything is possible. But you also have to understand, it's like free radicals, right? There is a cost and there is a price to pay, right? So if at this point in time, we don't have all our T's dotted, T's crossed and I dotted as to the knowledge of that particular thing with all its ramifications, maybe caution must be the motto, the motto and the mantra, right? Because you don't want to end up creating more problems by
Exactly.
solving one problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You fix one problem and you have
And then you create multiple.
associate more. So
Yeah.
of course 90 has come in.
Yeah,
Well,
but I like them. When I heard him, I like said, yeah. But the point is,
but I think it got Ghanaians to start thinking, hey, is that possible? Can we bring the sea to Kumasi? Wow. I mean, that would be a lot of work. That would be,
this is not the first time. Buzia said it. Chada is not the one to mute it. Buzia said it. Believe you me, Buzia said it in 1969.
But
Right.
I think it's possible starting from the coastal regions where they already have access to the sea, maybe start making leeway from there through. It's possible. Yeah, they can start making leeways from taking some tributaries from the sea and then, opening avenues. Because after all, it's all the rivers that empty themselves into the sea. So if the sea has received so much and it's okay, let me also give back, and then you make an outlet for the seawater to start pushing itself, because already the sea is full. The sea will never go dry. Like we say, sea never dry. It's never going to go dry because it's being fed by so many smaller rivers. So, okay, now I have received so much. Let me also give out. Then there could be a way, because it might not be directly from Accra to the main city. But then,
Doctor, what people don't realize, the salinity of the sea can cause problems.
Yeah, the saltiness. That's true.
Yeah. So it's not that, it can be, right? Any place you take it, it can create problems there.
That's true, because I went to Augustine's, one of the best schools in Ghana, and my classroom overlooked the sea. I mean, you have my Form 1 block was right there, and then the assembly hall, and then across the street is the sea. And so all our windows were always rusty because the sea water created problems. So every now and then we are changing the louver blades or repainting. So like you said, it comes with problems, and we should be able to fix that when that problem also comes. So you rob Peter and then you go and pay Paul.
I have a house by the sea, about a mile or a mile and a half from the sea, around Kukrobiti. Within 3 months of constructing it, the knobs are rusting.
Wow.
Oh yeah, so these are some. So the fact that it's lovely, technology is lovely, right? But the reason a particular technology may not be feasible to deploy now is because of the cost involved. Right?
That's true. I think we are over our time a minute, but I want you to comment on the last gene so we can leave. Some entity else is the giver of success. What do you mean?
Yes, because Dr. Boyson, the Bible says, according to the text, the book of the Lord shall not depart out of your mouth. You shall meditate upon it day and night. You may observe to do according to all that is written therein. Then you shall make your way prosperous. And then you shall have good success. You shall have. You don't make it yourself, like prosperity. Are you getting the picture clear? So again, we come to a place where certain words have power. Have here is call it a synonym for receive, right? And so somebody else will give you that success because he said you shall have good success. So the success does not come from you. It comes from somewhere. So who gives it? Is that making sense? And so that particular word, have or give, actually has what we call three aridities. Three arities. I'm sorry, not aridity. Three arities. Because you have the receiver, the giver, and that which is given.
The gift.
In this case, you who have made your way prosperous, you are the receiver or the recipient of what is given. And who gives what is given? God, in our case here. And what does God give the recipient? Good success.
So that is not in contrast to your prosperity is in your own hands.
Yeah, because that's what Joshua is saying. Because he says, then you shall make your way prosperous, and then you shall have good success. Are you getting me? It doesn't say you shall reap good success, because then it will mean that you put the seeds in the soil and the good success becomes the harvest. That's not what the Bible is saying. You have simply because you've made your way prosperous. Is that making sense? So, Dr. Boyce, one of the things that comes out of this is that, I mean, why are we surprised then that nations that tend to be developed tend to be also developing more? Because they've made their way prosperous. So they are having good success from whoever is giving it. Think about it. Because you see, nowhere in this has God even mentioned his own name. He said, study the book of the law. Talk about the book of the law.
After you've meditated.
Act according to the prescriptions of the book of the law. Then you shall make your way success. If we turn this into an argument, it becomes if and then. If you meditate upon the book of the law and you discuss the book of the law always, and you act according to the dictates or the prescriptions of the book of the law, then you shall make your way prosperous. So it gives conditions.
That's true. Conditions.
Right? So just meet the conditions and you will make your way prosperous, not God giving you that prosperity according to this test, which will be our knowledge base. According to our knowledge base, it is not God who gives prosperity. It is you, the individual, who makes it happen.
We have it differently in Africa. Our notion there is different because we believe that God must give it to us.
Well, this is what God is saying.
Not the same book.
This is what he is saying. Don't second guess him. If you trust him, do as he has ordered, not what you think. And so the results are there. Compare the results we have there and the results we have here. And we tend to be more spiritual than, but who is actually getting what Joshua has written.
But the world, some aspect of the world believes that if you have more prosperity, you are drawing yourself more to the satanic, demonic side. That's our belief.
It is not.
Meanwhile, we go to borrow.
Else Solomon. Jesus himself is rich. God himself is rich. So that thinking, that mindset contradicts everything about God.
That is what divine connection is for. We are trying to unlearn some of the crazy things that we used to believe when we were kids. Now it's time for us to chew meat and begin to reflect. These things that we learned when we were growing up, has it helped us? Do we have to continue doing them when we don't have success? Or we have to change our minds and our ways to make sure we are getting the prosperity and the success that comes with it? You can be prosperous, you can be successful, and still be a good Christian that can be assured of going to heaven and not hell. Some people think that when you become too rich in this life, then you are becoming demonic. Give me all the money in this world. I'll try. I mean, what I'll do is I'll just help people to make their lives easier. So being rich or being prosperous doesn't mean we are going to hell. Just that we have to apply the principle and make sure we are getting the results. If it's not working, then we have to check the source and make sure the things that we are doing are lining up. We are obeying, we are meditating, we are practicing, and we're making sure we are getting the results. Because trust me, if you're a student, you go to classes, you don't touch classes, you listen to your teachers, you take notes after school, you come back and so let me go over my notes, let me revise, and you go to the exam room prepared. Unless the riches in your village don't like you, you will pass. There's no way you're going to fail. If you are going to classes, taking lectures, meditating on what you've been studying, and bringing yourself to the exam room with a good condition of good breakfast and taking your exam, you will pass. But if you do otherwise, then don't expect to pass and blame it on somebody. These are principles. That is what we've been talking about for the past few or 5 series for today. And so we are 9 minutes above the time. But I'll kindly ask Pastor Akron. Yeah, your closing remarks. Yeah, go. Take your.
I know of a big time pastor when we're growing up. I knew this pastor. He chased scholarship for his son to go to the Soviet Union to read medicine.
I tried it too. Russia.
No, but you were not a pastor. I said this was a pastor. The Soviet Union, it was an official policy. They don't believe in the existence of God.
And yet he wanted his son to go there.
He wanted his son to get scholarship, free scholarship to go to the Soviet Union to go and study, to be educated in medicine by atheists. Tell me.
I mean, they will take the freebies. They will take the free conditions.
No, because you see, it's one thing to math certain things. It's another to walk the talk. It's easy for people to talk the talk. Walking the talk is another thing. How many people have prospered from the sort of messages we've been hearing in wherever we came from? How many? The same people who are going to church now and are listening to those prosperity messages where they are praying for visas to come here. 90-something%, they are all going to church, listening to prosperity message and what have you, and the prosperity will be getting a visa to come to the US. It's as simple as that.
Oh, okay, Brother Prince, very profound. I'm blessed and enlightened. Thank you, and may God continue to bless you all in Era One Radio. That's Brother Prince Abraham. Thank you, Brother Prince, for joining us. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we think that is part of the blessing we get, that when you pray and God taking you outside to overseas to go and enjoy that's green pastures.
And then you go and do this, your ideas are stolen. Never forget that. Never forget. One of the problems of Africa, when our people go outside and they study, their ideas are known, and so their capacity and capabilities are already known. We must not understand these principles in life. If it is your enemy who trains you to be whatever, can you beat him?
He will leave some of their poor.
Of course.
But if you study very well, you overtake him.
But you can only overtake him if you study outside his curriculum.
Well, anyway, that will be for another day's discussion. Well, I think we've gone past 30 minutes of that. Thank you very much, Pastor Akron, for 5 weeks of dealing with Joshua chapter 1 verse. Can you imagine only one verse? Joshua 1:8 taking us 5 weeks series, and still there's more to be covered. I'm sure by now some of you are tired, but you know that our point is good. You want to continue, but we'll give you a break. So we are suspending, as they say in politics, we are suspending our campaign, but we'll come back. We are not permanently coming to an end. We are suspending it. We'll take it another time. But then next we will come out with a fresh topic, and we'll keep learning, because on this platform we are all about learning and taking all the junk and the chaff from our minds, renewing our mind. Even Paul said it, renew your mind, renew your mind, renew your mind, and study to show yourself approved. These are all there. They are not abstract, they are there. And God said, read them and practice them. So meditate, follow, and act. And as the Navy people too will say, see one, do one, and teach one. The more you teach, the more it becomes very akin to you. I mean, if you want to be a public speaker and you say, okay, as for me, I'm not going to speak in public, how are you going to speak it? So since I want to learn how to speak, I'm always trying to host this, so I will learn how to speak one day, and who knows where Pastor Akon is going to take me. So Pastor Akon, God bless you. One day you go somewhere and you will take me along. So maybe I have to start practicing. So thank you very much, Pastor, for the wealth of knowledge that you share and you present on this platform. God richly bless you.
Thank you, sir.
As we say in our old spiritual jargon, whatever virtues come out of you, we pray that God will replace it in Jesus' name. Well, until we meet again next week, same time, same place, have a good evening and enjoy yourself. And also be praying that November 5th, US goes to the polls, and December 7th, Ghana does its own. And so we'll see. Let's take a quarter by 10th December. We'll know who the two presidents of those respective nations will be. Let's pray and make sure it becomes a peaceful election. Whoever God has ordained to win will win peaceful. But then God doesn't vote for us. We have to go and vote, cast our ballot, and elect the next presidents of our respective countries. God bless you and have a good evening. Thank you, Pastor Akon. I'll see you next time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All righty. Bye.
Aden urefiana Seo tumi manya eni abao Aden wasuwa mani suwa fosunyade Aden meba, Aden kura Eya useni da suwasa Eni da suwa Eni da suwasa Eni da sonsa kura Eni da suwasa Oh, eni da sonsa yo Uwera Eni da suwasa Eya mensubi emo Eni da suwasa Eni da suwa Eni da suwasa Oh, adio Eni da suwasa